Welcome to Speaking from Experience, a District 123 podcast hosted by Ayesha Hussain. With Toastmasters International spanning over 148 countries, with more than 270,000 members, the annual quest for excellence unfolds as more than 30,000 members compete for the top spot at the World Championship of Public Speaking. District 123 has been a launching pad for many of these Toastmasters determined to compete at the world stage. In this podcast, you'll have the pleasure of hearing from some of those accomplished speakers as they share their experiences and reveal what it took to achieve excellence in the world of public speaking. Get ready for insightful conversations with members from District 123 as they share with you their journey to greatness.
Action!
Hello, and welcome back to your very own podcast, Speaking from Experience, presented by District 123 with your host, Ayesha Hussain. Our guest today is someone in a position of power. But when you think power, you think of someone strong and more fierce. But here's one leader who leads with empathy. He is the first Club Growth Director for District 123, moved on to Program Quality Director, helped charter 7 clubs then, and now is current District Director. The way I described him as earlier is a leader who leads with empathy, leads by example, available 24/7. He's none other than Leslie Benfield. Leslie, what an honor to finally have you at our podcast. We've been wanting you forever, but you've been doing so many things, and as I said, 24/7 available for Toastmasters. How do you do it all? Because we also know you have a full-time job, a family, children, and still be available for the club members 24/7. How do you do it?
Well, thank you very much, Ayesha. Thank you to the entire crew at our podcast at District 123. It's a pleasure to be here. I also have been dying to get on this program, and I think it really provides a great platform for us in the district. So you asked the question, how do I do it? And why do I not do it? It's a question I would ask, because I see my role as a privilege for me to use my talents and also grow as a leader, grow as a member of Toastmasters. This is a privilege to be part of the district trio, whether you're a club growth director, you're a program quality director, or you're a district director. It's such a great privilege and an honor to represent our district. Every time I get the opportunity to go to training overseas, or I get to go to a convention, as I'm looking forward to in August, or even just attending a club meeting, it really is a privilege, and I would encourage anyone who gets an opportunity to be in a position of leadership in Toastmasters to grab hold of it. We are, having club elections coming up right now. It's such a transformative opportunity to just whether you're, looking to be an area director like David here in our meeting here, or you're looking to go on to a higher position. It's always privilege, because you get to exercise another side of your brain. Many people think, when they think about Toastmasters, they think about a great communication organization, but it's also an organization that teaches you leadership.
When you say teaches you leadership, whenever we talk about Toastmasters, if you want to learn to speak, come to Toastmasters. How does it teach you leadership?
Yeah, so very often we speak of Toastmasters as learn by do. We have these workshops where people meet in groups of 20, going back 100 years in this organization, and we learn by do. Whether it's speaking or leading a group of people, we learn by do. So you ask the question, how do you teach leadership? So when you join as a member, you have an opportunity over time to be part of the executive in that club. That's 7 people that run a club. Very often when guests come to a Toastmasters meeting, one of the first things they always say is, oh, you guys are so organized.
Yes.
And why are you organized is because you have all of these people that are working behind the scenes to make sure you have a smooth, efficient meeting. So that's the leadership that you learn in Toastmasters.
So when you say there are leadership workshops, so somebody who doesn't have much experience at their work or outside Toastmasters in a leader's role, does Toastmasters help them learn the skills and provide them with the tools to be successful as a leader?
Yes, 100%. Whether they're a leader at work already or they're looking to get into leadership. So I'll give you an example. There are many districts around the world, and I have the privilege of visiting other districts. And one of the things I notice when I go to where I'm from Guyana, and when I go to District 81, there are a lot of, like, the average age of the area directors, the division directors, they're in their 20s and 30s. And the reason why is because they see Toastmasters as an opportunity for them to get into management, to sort of like really just leapfrog into positions of power within their organization, within their private business, etc. And it's something that we are trying to encourage more and more in our district. So for young people to come in and seize those opportunities, don't just sit back and enjoy the meeting or participate as a speaker, but also participate actively as a leader.
So if I'm understanding correct, it's a safe place to practice
100%.
your leadership skills
100%.
and where constructive feedback is provided so you can grow and take that skill outside Toastmasters and succeed wherever you're going.
100%, you got it.
But again, I still want to ask you the question of time. And you said, why not? And I mean, I'm a mother. I have a full-time job. And along with that, I do my speeches to do my whole course that you need to finish level 1, level 2. With that, how much time is required, or let me rephrase it, how much minimum hours should you give in as an area director or division director or as district director that say, okay, if you sign up for this role, it requires this much time?
So when people ask me that question, I turn the question back to them and I say, why is it you want to be an area director? Because if you're just doing it to get a tick on the road to becoming a distinguished Toastmaster, that's probably not a good reason to be an area director. I ask them, why are you doing this? If you're doing this to really develop these leadership skills, or you'd like to get a promotion, or you'd like to really be more effective when you're communicating with your team at work, if you're already a leader, then you should definitely do it. And the passion that you would bring to this role, because every single area director has their own sort of motivation or goals. If you're bringing that passion for leadership, if you're really looking to get out of Toastmasters what Toastmasters provides, you wouldn't be checking about, oh, I'm spending 2 hours this week. I mean, David is here. I've seen him spend tons of hours on Toastmasters. I can call him at any time, and I know 100% he would be there. So the reason why he's doing that, and the reason why I am doing it, is because I'm passionate about it. I see the value that it provides for me and my community. And in terms of my family, my wife is a Toastmaster. Each one of my kids, they've been in Toastmasters. They all understand the power and the benefits that you get from Toastmasters. My cousin here, Dolores, is part of Toastmasters, and we're busy. We are busy. We have things to do, but we see the value that this organization provides, and the value is not just to help the organization. Is the value comes back 100% in terms of what you're learning and when you're growing in the organization.
I completely agree 100%. I've never taken a leadership role yet, but when you talked about personal growth, I had mostly talked at my school debates maybe once in a while, and going on to placing second at district is all the giving of Toastmasters, the fact that I could come and practice without worrying of embarrassment or somebody making fun of, but a very, very encouraging environment. So I'm hoping that's how even the leadership, not hoping, actually from what you're saying, you're solidifying it that that's how even leadership programs work. But I want to ask you when we talk about leaders, and the definition of leader has widely shifted from what it used to be, say, 15 years back to where today it is, where a leader back then was taken as somebody, if you're climbing a mountain, I'm going to take example of mountain climbing, the leader is the first, leading the path, carving the path. Now, we talk about leading with empathy, where the leader is actually the last, helping everybody climb up first, making sure no one's left behind. What's your take on both the different kind of leaderships?
So I think a leader is someone who, I've heard one say at one of the Toastmasters conventions, one guy defined a successful leadership team as a team where no one wants the team to fail. So if you're a leader, or you aspire to be a leader, your objective is to build that entire team to a strong team that no one on that team would like that team to fail. And that's the whole concept of a team being as strong as the weakest link. If you as a leader are able to inspire, especially in a nonprofit organization,
right,
if you're to inspire everyone on your team, that is what takes you to the next level. It's not about the leader, it's about the entire team.
But as I said, my question next to you is, you know how we talked about shift, and we said before the leader was I leaded, I commanded, my idea. Now we talk about team. What, in your opinion, made that shift happen?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the whole concept of a boss as opposed to a leader, right? A boss is the one that comes in and he says, you have to do this, you have to do that, and he kind of commands you to do it.
Right.
A leader is someone who inspires you to do it in such a way that you see what's in it for you and you want to get to that thing. That goal that's what drives you. If you, let's say for instance, you talk about climbing a mountain. If I'm going mountain climbing with a bunch of friends and I'm just doing it because I have a day off, I wouldn't necessarily put my 100% in.
Right.
Or if I see, one of the team members, he's sick or he can't do it, you'd be like, oh, we'll come back for you or whatever. But if you have a strong team, you want everyone to get there together. You're all motivated. You're all thinking about that dream. You're all thinking about, the beer or whatever you're going to have to celebrate, the champagne that you're going to have at the end of the journey. So that's the difference between inspiring as opposed to commanding. And in a nonprofit organization, commanding does not work.
It does not. I really like the word when you said inspiring, and I know right now you're in a process of chartering this new club, Namaste Brampton. What inspired or what motivated, what was the thought process when you said, okay, this is the club I want to charter with?
Yeah, so I am a computer scientist, I guess you can say, by profession.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the analysis when you're a club growth director or you're a district director is you analyze your entire region and in terms of demographics. One of the things, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I've chartered three language clubs, one French, English bilingual, one Spanish, English bilingual, and I was also involved in chartering Creole trilingual club, which is French, Creole, and English. That's in another district. So I've always been involved in this kind of, club building activities. And one of the the things that blew my mind is I was going through some data and I noticed that we have the largest population that speak their own home language at home across the Greater Toronto area was Punjabi, and it wasn't like 20% more than the next one. It was like 200%
Oh, wow.
compared to the next home language. I don't even remember which the other home language is, but it wasn't, English or one of the, it wasn't French or one of the, languages that we would expect. Even Hindi was pretty small. So with that data, I was like, this is a huge opportunity that
Yes.
we really need to tap into. And as club board director, that's where the inspiration came.
Okay, I want to ask you another question. That's like, well, before I move on, I really want to say you must come and try Namaste Brampton. You will find that place safe to be in. But I want to ask you, in your this year of district director, and soon you would be handing the baton to our next director, what is that one thing that was your learning point as district director?
There are many things that have, been aha moments as district director, and most of it, it's not in me, it's in people around me. And I'll talk about this whole this podcast project is an example. When I was looking for someone to be PRM, I know he's in the room, I'm gonna mention his name. Ryan and I spoke, and I talked about what this role involves, and I asked him, what are you passionate about? What would you like to see as a public relations manager? And one of the first things he talked about was podcasts. And just following his growth in Toastmasters over the last year, I actually mentioned it at Namaste Toastmasters, I've seen a huge growth in him as a leader. Just the way he organized this podcast team, the way he gets his team together, and he refers to you guys as his team, right? And that's what is the hallmark of a great leader.
Yes.
You asked the question earlier. And so for me, it's all about my team, whether you're public relations manager, whether you're club growth, your program quality. These are all big roles in terms of running a district. And it's very important to me that these people are passionate about what they're doing. The goals of Toastmasters are secondary as far as I'm concerned. The goal for me, my greatest goal, is that every single person who takes on one of those leadership roles, they get back out of the program 100% of what their goals are. So for instance, if you're a club growth director, my club growth director, she's elated because she was able to start 5 clubs. Now that's a huge legacy for her to talk about, and we're not even done with the year. We're probably going to charter Namaste. We're probably going to charter a few other clubs as well. So that's an example of what is the aha moment, or the sort of like the icing on the cake for me as a district director.
Seeing your team grow and achieve their personal goals. That's beautifully said. Now that you're going to hand off the baton to the next district director, what's one crucial piece of advice you'll tell her?
You said it best. You said lead with empathy. I think that's the way in a nonprofit organization or any organization. A lot of the skills that I learned in Toastmasters, I use at work. And it really helps me to sort of stand out in an organization of 6,000 people. And I'll just give you an example. When COVID had just ended, there was so much restrictions in terms of buildings. Clubs are struggling to find buildings right now to host their clubs. I went to the leadership at Regional Peel, which is where we are right now, and I said, we would like to use the venue, and the initial answer was no. So I went higher, and I got no again, and I went higher, and guess what? I got a yes. And this is what we need to do, and Toastmasters provides that platform where we can advocate for ourselves, our community, so that we can realize our dream in this organization.
Here's to realizing dreams. On that note, I'd like to bring a question from our last guest.
What I would like to say is, what is it that you want to do, one thing, and change the world to make a better place?
So I probably piggyback on your idea, leading with empathy. If people around the world can be more empathetic. When you look at some of the politics, across the globe, whether it's, I don't want to call any countries, maybe India, you look at the United States, you look at here in Canada, often we don't see a lot of empathy in terms of leadership.
Okay.
And I think that's something that we need to sort of like demand in our leaders. I was blown away when we had the kickoff for Namaste Toastmasters and the mayor of Brampton showed up. And he gave us so many nuggets. One of the nuggets that he gave us is that, this is a facility that's paid for by the taxpayers. You and I are paying for this venue. Why is it we don't have that access? There's so many clubs across the district that are complaining they don't have access to a free venue as they did before COVID, but there's so many restrictions, and we have to advocate for ourselves and say, why is this the case? All right, so I think that if we have more leaders leading with empathy, leaders going out and advocating whether it's for a club or themselves, we would have a much more awesome environment.
So takeaway for today's podcast is be a leader who leads with empathy. But before we let you go, we need you to leave a question for our next guest.
So my question for our next guest is, most likely our next guest is going to be a Toastmaster and probably someone in leadership, whether it's in their club or in a district or wherever. So my question is, what is the legacy that you would like to leave in your club, and whether it's the district or in your personal life? What's the legacy that you would like to leave? Because we all have that power within us. You as the host, I really have to thank you. This is amazing. This is brand new for District 123. You're doing something that's amazing. You asked me about where do I find the time, but you're an example of a typical Toastmaster who takes it to the next level. I've seen you and watch your career, and you're amazing the way you have a dream and you go after it. You've interviewed so many people, and I have to thank you on behalf of the entire district and say that it's a pleasure having this legacy that you guys yourself and the entire podcast team are leaving in District 123. So for the next guest, what is the legacy that you would like to leave?
That, Nate, I'd actually like to ask our audience, not just in Toastmasters, but what's the legacy you want to leave behind? I don't want to sound it morbid when you're gone, but you can leave a legacy while you're living. Create that legacy. Live that life. On that note, signing off, Ayesha Hussain. Until next time.
When I was a young child, my mama told